What I know is they can increase their application volume overnight if they stay disciplined to these 5 simple steps. Because it's my belief system that the more accurate information we get to a home buyer, the more action it will cause and create.
What we're doing as a part of Method 5, and I know we'll get into some of the other numbers here, but what we're doing is we're creating an encouraging environment for home buyers that are at all interested in purchasing a home. People don't know the answers to some of these questions. So if we're pre-diagnosing, they just simply, in what I found in my career, they just simply don't know. So they don't know when their bankruptcy was.
Matt Weaver, the #1 mortgage originator in the United States for most loans closed in 2023 and #1 in the state of Florida from 2020 to present, has spent over 27 years mastering the purchase market, earning more than 16 #1 titles across his career. Max Fisch, 2024's #1 originator in the United States under 30 and #2 in the state of Florida, achieved those titles within just 5 years of entering the mortgage industry, compressing decades of growth into a few extraordinary years. Collectively, they've helped more than 40,000 families purchase their first home. Now partners and looking to improve the industry on a national scale, Matt and Max share their winning formula, team structure, and systems with originators who want to scale from elite to extraordinary levels.
So Matt, I think that everybody listening today is in for quite a bit of a treat, because we're going to discuss how originators can double their application volume overnight. And when I first came over and we partnered together, this was one of the concepts that I think was very, very interesting because it's super unique in the mortgage industry as a whole. So I'd love for you to dive into this concept, because I just think that it's game-changing for originators' businesses.
Of course, and thank you again. So we call it Method 5 here at the Matt Weaver team, as you know. When we stop and think about it, the pre-approval process, its steps, okay, and how we interact with the customer from, hi, I'd like to get pre-approved, all the way through getting pre-approved is the foundation of an originator's business. If you think about it, the idea is we want to, of course, have as much inquiry as possible. That inquiry then turns into a loan opportunity. That loan opportunity can then, of course, translate into a unit being funded. So the more loan opportunity we have, the more inquiry we convert to a loan opportunity, then, of course, translates into units closed. So we call it Method 5, okay? And it's good for us to go over and cover here with the audience today, because here's what I know. What I know is they can increase their application volume overnight if they stay disciplined to these 5 simple steps. A lot of it is mindset. And a lot of the things that we talk about, as you know, Max, is mindset.
Sure.
Because really it's methodology in the way that we view our business, which is what has the biggest impact to our business. So when we look at Method 5, we start with #1, okay? Our pre-approval process is a value proposition rather than a formality. A value proposition rather than a formality. Okay. So most originators treat their pre-approval process as a formality. If you're looking to make an offer, we're going to go ahead and get you pre-approved. I never looked at my pre-approval process that way. In fact, as you know, our #1 value proposition to the agent that we serve is our pre-approval process.
Yes.
That's a value proposition. So what do I mean by that? Okay. For us, whether that home buyer is looking to buy today, 6 months from now, or a year from now, it's my belief system that they should go through our simple pre-approval process so they can get all the facts and figures before making any big decisions. So when we stop and think about that for just a second, okay, we're encouraging our agents, no matter what part of the sales cycle the buyer is in terms of buying, to take advantage of our pre-approval process that operates 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. We're encouraging them, whether they run into a prospective buyer at a grocery store, at a dinner party, and that buyer says, yeah, I don't know if I should be buying today. I'm not 100% sure I want to. Well, why don't you just go through the Matt Weaver team pre-approval process, Okay, they'll walk you through everything. They'll give you all the facts and figures, and you can make your best assessment from there. So what has that done for us? What that has done for us over the years, compounding, okay, is the fact that we have a lot more inquiry because of our mindset about our pre-approval process, all right, and how it's available to everyone regardless of their timeline. Because it's my belief system that the more accurate information we get to a home buyer, the more action it will cause and create. Because I think we can agree that in this industry that we're in, the mortgage side of the industry and the real estate side, there's a lack of information given to home buyers. And so they think it's a lot harder to qualify. They think it's a lot more expensive to own a home. And so my idea was if we can break down that barrier by them simply calling our line to get the facts and figures, okay, then they can get to an answer and they could perhaps take action a little bit sooner. So there's no wonder that here in the state of Florida, we have issued really the most down payment assistance programs. Okay, we have helped the most, in terms of the past few years, the most first-time home buyers, African Americans and Hispanics in the entire state of Florida. When we think about the most first-time home buyers, why is that? It's because the mindset to our pre-approval process is a formality open to the public so they can come, get the facts and figures regardless of where they are in the timeline and the cycle, so they can make their best decision. And you saw the difference when we immediately partnered together. I remember you vividly sharing that, wow, this is somebody who normally wouldn't have applied, but is applying today.
Well, in a way, it's important to note that, as you said, it's a mindset. So what we're doing as a part of Method 5, and I know we'll get into some of the other numbers here, but what we're doing is we're creating an encouraging environment for home buyers that are at all interested in purchasing a home. Because I know that you and I have said before that within this structure, it's our belief system that if somebody wants to apply for a mortgage or to purchase a home, then they should have the opportunity to do that. And that's what this structure and this process does, is it's welcoming and encouraging to home buyers rather than, and otherwise in a lot of other structures and processes, a discouraging process. So what I found in my own personal business, plugging into this structure and the system, is that there are individuals that would have otherwise been discouraged, number one, because they just didn't have, as we coin it, the facts and figures. But number two, because there is no process on the open market as far as mortgage and mortgage originations are concerned, that welcoming of an environment for home buyers. Because a lot of home buyers feel as if it's a daunting task to apply for a mortgage. So that was the glaring part of value proposition versus formality for me, which was how encouraging that environment that's being created is for incoming home buyers.
Correct. That's correct. Method 2, simple script to application. Simple script to application. This is a big one. Okay. Most originators, they do what I call romancing the phone. Okay. Home buyer calls up, hi, I'd like to get pre-approved. And what I find so interesting is that most originators ask them, 20 or 30 different questions.
Sure.
Then they also start off by saying, do you have any questions for me? I mean, there's just so much almost interrogation that takes place when the home buyer is simply called to just say, I'd like to get pre-approved.
Yeah.
So when we think about it, the sale is already completed. You don't have to sit here and ask them all of these basically redundant questions that in a lot of ways you're going to discover during the 1003 application taking process.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think originators do that?
Well, they think they need that in order to sell, the customer on starting the process. Also, they're not scripted.
Sure.
Okay. And so what I mean by that, and we hear script, here we go again. We hear the word script. Oh my gosh, is it disingenuous? Oh my God. We all have to cut that out.
Yes.
Okay. A script allows your process to be duplicatable. It allows you to continue to serve more people. That's the idea. Okay. So most of them don't have a scripted process, so they wing it on each call. They could be saying something different each and every time, which then creates a lot of dialogue that is not necessary.
Yes.
Our script to application is very simple, very clear, and very concise. As a matter of fact, it's about 90 seconds, I want to say, roughly, and it has a well over 90% conversion rate from hi, I'd like to get pre-approved directly into 1003 to a credit pool. We don't ask these questions. So where are you looking to buy? What are you looking to buy? When are you looking to buy? Are you a first-time home buyer? All of that's going to be discovered in the 1003 process. Why are you doing it now? Okay. We walk them through our process, who we are as a team. All can be encapsulated within about a minute and a half, which it is. It's been the same script, Max, for 15 years.
Yes.
Okay. My kids, Alexander and Stella can recite the script. They've been hearing it their whole life. All right. So we stated that because of its high level of conversion, and it's also, a better service to the customer. They're calling to get pre-approved. Walk them through your process into the 1003 process, into a credit pool. It's that simple.
Do you think that in your experience, do you think that originators in a way try to almost talk themselves out of an application on this initial call? Because a lot of originators as a whole, when I've heard them speak to a incoming home buyer for the first time, there's almost this idea or this posturing that takes place where you're almost playing devil's advocate in a way. You're trying to find a reason to not take that application rather than just taking them straight into application. I feel like that's the nature behind all of those romancing questions, which is a disservice to the real estate agent and the home buyer. So this process, again, I want to point back to, creates that encouraging environment where they're not being put in a position where somebody is asking them questions, almost like a test to see, this is a reason why you wouldn't qualify. Right?
Yes. I mean, so what happens here is that's one of the issues. The main issue that I do see in our F13 consulting, when we, of course, help these originators, these great originators that are part of the program, curtail their process, where we really micro down. They were told that you have to do a lot of selling in the beginning, part of the process. They were told that you almost have to validate yourself. What the audience needs to hear is your referral partner, referred you. The real estate agent is a trusted advisor to them, which is why they hit the 7 digits to call you. Do the right thing by the customer. Walk them through your simple process. Get them into the application. Give them what they're looking for. Method 3. All calls to application. All calls to application. This is a big one. Pre-diagnosing, as we know, would be and is a medical malpractice.
Yes.
In the mortgage industry, pre-diagnosing is also a malpractice, and the fastest way you can lose a real estate agent, similar to what you were just talking about. Here at the Matt Weaver team, as you know, our mindset is all calls, all inquiries go to application. We never pre-diagnose. We are never trying to ask, just like you said, all of these questions to figure out if the customer is worth an application or not. You see, an originator that does that is basically saying, are you worth my time? Exactly. And we don't have that philosophy.
Yep.
Pre-diagnosing single-handedly will be one of the fastest ways to losing real estate agents and your relationship with them. Because here's what happens. It's not possible, to pre-diagnose verbally. You need all the facts and figures to make a decision if you can help this home buyer. But better yet, if you can't in its current form, then you have to counter them, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So here's what happens. Most originators are trying to guard their time. Most originators are asking questions like, so what type of property are you looking to buy? Oh, it's a condo? Is it a $150,000 condo, you said? Oh, boy. And then they start asking even more drilling questions to see if they'll qualify or not. It's saying, are you worth my time? Where you may find something or discover something in that conversation of them saying, well, I have an issue here or there, whatever the home buyer shares. You pre-diagnose it and say you cannot help them. Next thing you know, they're sitting in one of our luncheons. And as you know, what we're asking the agents at the end of our luncheon is to do us or to give us at least one opportunity on someone who has been declined or not getting what they want. So they end up calling myself or you. Okay, we don't pre-diagnose. We put them through the process. And because we look at things a little bit differently and more solution-based, we end up finding a way for them to buy. Next thing you know, we give them a counter on how they can buy. They go out with their agent, they get under contract, and they close and fund successfully. That original originator is off the list. It's just that simple. And by the way, they should be.
What's so interesting is it seems so fundamental. It seems so simple, but the industry as a whole does it. And it's funny because people don't know the answers to some of these questions. So if we're pre-diagnosing, they just simply, in what I found in my career, they just simply don't know. So they don't know when their bankruptcy was. They might say 6 months. It might feel like 6 months, but it was a year ago. They don't know what their credit score is. And so a process like this is so important for originators because the answers that you're getting, you're talking yourself out of potential fundings and potential transactions closed, not only for that home buyer, but for the real estate agent as well. So I couldn't agree more with the premise behind number 3, because it's just getting them to application and then reviewing, giving them their facts and figures, seeing exactly where they stand rather than this hypothetical concept of where they think they stand.
That's right.
Right. So I just think that's interesting.
Yes. And as we merged, you're seeing the difference between your application volume since these steps have been measured.
Absolutely. There are various potential homeowners that have wanted to apply that wouldn't have had the opportunity before because the process just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so, the opportunities rise. You get more applications, you can help serve more families and make more real estate agents happy. I mean,
no question.
It's a formula for success there.
That's right. Method 4. This is an interesting one. Online applications.
This is my favorite one.
Online applications. So this is a topic where I could sit in one room with 500 originators and say, online applications are ridiculous. And they'll throw tomatoes at me. I could sit in another room of 500 real estate agents and say online applications are ridiculous. And they'll throw bouquets at me.
Sure.
And give me a standing ovation. Interestingly enough, the first room says the other room is their customer. Okay. Another topic that we'll discuss is knowing who your customer is.
Yes.
So we'll get to that another time. Online applications, okay, don't scale. And I think is overall a ridiculous concept.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you why I think that. Okay. Let's use a fishing metaphor. We go out 5 a.m. on a fishing charter. We're in the middle of the ocean. We cast our pole, or our line, I should say, into the water. 1 hour turns to 2 to 3 to 4. We get a nibble. We reel the fish into the boat. We catch a nice one. We take the fish off the hook. We look at it and we throw it directly back into sea. You've gone out as an originator. You've either met with an agent, had a one-on-one, maybe spoke at a team, maybe spoke at a real estate office, whatever you did. You did a good job. You converted the agent in the room. The agent gives you an opportunity. The fish on the hook. You reeled the fish in. You got the call. You took the fish off. You took the call off the hook. Threw it back into sea by giving them an online application. ridiculous. Where in our process, the one that we are both working in today, okay, as you know, number one, we never promote or talk about online applications ever. A customer would actually physically have to ask us, do you have an online link? And it's only at that point in time do we give that option, because it's not right for the customer. The agent is aware that originators are taking the lazy way out. They know it. I say it in my room all the time. You say it in your rooms all the time. Mm-hmm. And we've only been saying it for years at this point, where hundreds and hundreds of agents all agree and clap.
Yes. Okay?
So the cat's out the bag.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's poor quality service to the customer. It's letting the customer go. Whereas in our process, that customer is going from phone call directly into application and directly through the process. I mean, they're not buying a shirt on Amazon. It is the biggest purchase virtually of their lifetime, at least to date in most cases. Okay, so we walk them through that application process, number one. Number two, it does not scale. And now what do I mean by that? Okay, we get an application report today. We see that 37 people applied yesterday. So 37 people called and applied to get pre-approved. Great. Could you imagine if we looked at that application report today and said, okay, so 37 called and all 37 were given an online link. Now what do we have? On the one hand, I have 37 credit pulls, 37 somewhat committed people that are going through the process versus 37 people got a link. Now we have to, of course, have our advisors reach out to these buyers. Did you fill out? One says yes, one didn't, one got the link. It is a traffic jam. So it doesn't scale well. What scales well is having the methodology of, number one, it being a value proposition. Number two, a simple script to application. Number three, no pre-diagnosing, all inquiries to application. And number four, getting rid of online applications.
Well, here's what I have to say about that, and it's very short, and you can get it in number 5. Our customer likes it. So whatever reasons, whatever real life examples we want to give, I can give many. One being you're opening the door for clunkiness in the process, which again is not creating an encouraging environment for that home buyer that already has a predisposition that mortgage is or applying for a home loan is this daunting process. So you're creating an environment to where you're almost fostering the fact that this can be clunky. You might not be able to log in, so on and so forth. But here's where it starts and ends for me. It starts and ends with what you said. Real estate agents, when they're told that, they sing your praises, they throw flowers at you. If we truly believe as an industry that real estate agents are our customer, then that's how we have to do it.
That's right.
And it's that simple.
That's right. Method number 5, always counter with a solution. Always counter with a solution. So it was 2012. I'll never forget it. I had a past customer call me to get pre-approved. And she called me, and I believe, off memory, I was able to get her to about $275,000. Okay, this is 2012, Max.
Yes.
Okay.
I answered back then.
That's right. That's right. So after I got her pre-approved, home buyer consultation, etc., I could tell it just wasn't getting her to where she wanted to get to. She wanted a higher amount, but we really maxed her out in all aspects. It was about a month and a half later, I got a text message from her. I'll never forget it, Sunday night, okay? And not a text message you want to get on a Sunday night. Or she said, Matt, I wanted to thank you so much for all that you've done, but I do want to let you know that I already bought a house. So, of course, I called her, and she said, I just wanted to let you know that I bought a house for $350,000. You were only able to get me $275,000. Well, again, not a great conversation for a Sunday night, but I asked her, well, first I said, congratulations, you got to do that. But then I asked her, what happened there? Now watch how she responded. She said, the loan officer told me to refinance my car out of my name into my boyfriend's name. So she's not even married. So it was at that point in time, I implemented into my process loan committee. Loan committee meets every single day on pre-approval reviews that don't qualify. The reason why we have loan committee is we have multiple minds on that call that go through each one that is getting either counter-offered or not able to get approved, so we can collectively think about how we can help this buyer. Because I never wanted to have that call again. And the philosophy behind it is every buyer, regardless of how ridiculous we think it is going to be countered with some type of solution. Because the last thing I want is, number one, a text on a Sunday night like that. But we may think something's ridiculous, but I got news for everyone that's listening. When a home buyer has here and in here that they want to buy, believe me, they're going to figure out a way to do it. And we have to be the ones in the middle. And sometimes that's giving them a solution or a counteroffer that we may find ridiculous, but for them, if that's the course of action they have to take to get the home, they're going to do it.
So as much as this is a tactical process that we're sharing today, it's just as much as of a mindset.
Correct.
And so for originators, because what I had to adopt looking at this process was not just, okay, we're plugging in and playing into a process that hums, but it's also a mindset to our real estate agents in the way that we do business. And so my question, and I would be interested to hear what you would tell, originators all over the country that are listening, how can they implement this? How can they start thinking this way in their own personal business? Because that's a very important step that I think originators need to start immediately with.
Method 5 is imperative to their business if they want to serve real estate agents at a high level.
Yes.
It just is. Okay, so my hope for the person and the persons and the originators that are listening today is they wrote down all 5. And they look at them very carefully and they ask themselves, do I want to serve the agent community at a high level? Because what happens is, as we talk about, Max, when you're building a business, I don't care if you're closing 1 transaction a month, 5, 15, 30, or whatever that number is. You got to have standards and belief systems in place. Okay, every great organization has standards and beliefs. These are some of our standards and beliefs that we have. So I think it's important for them to take a look at these 5 and really figure out how they can weave it into their process, because it's really, really important. The things that we share here, which I think makes it really unique, is, we're players on the court. I'm still on the court to this day.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't talk like, hey, what I did 15 years ago is this. Okay. I'm on the phone today. Okay. Right before, we did this podcast interview here. Okay. As we're talking here with real estate agents, okay, consumers, etc. So I'm on the court, you're on the court. So we're sharing what it is that we're doing in its pure form today.
It's fantastic stuff. And I really encourage originators to, as you said, take a look at it, digest it, marinate on it, and try to implement this into your business as fast as possible. Because again, our customer likes it, the home buyer likes it, which means we need to create processes wrapped around that. So it's incredible. Thank you, Matt.
Yes.